did IMSA drop the ball by going further than the scheduled distance?
Well, what happened was a NASCAR-owned series pulled a NASCAR-style move. Welcome to IMSA Overtime, sponsored by Credit One Bank, presented by Liberty Mutual, or whatever the case may be, I guess you could say here. Listen, I want to be honest with our audience here and make sure people understand something. IMSA, in terms of what I follow and cover and, I'm familiar with, is a pretty distant fourth behind NASCAR, Indy, and F1. I'll always watch the 24 Hours of Daytona. I'll always watch 12 Hours of Sebring. I'll watch the season championship. And, of course, I'll always watch Le Mans if you want to throw the World Endurance Championship side of things in there. But I'll also watch IMSA, when it's on, when there's nothing better to do. And, I've tried to pick it up here and there. Still not as familiar with it as I am with other series that we cover here at Grid Network. So it would probably be fourth in terms of the series that are part of our coverage here in terms of what I know most about. So I'm not familiar with the rules and regulations. I don't have a rule book in front of me. It's a shame our colleague Josh Birch isn't with us tonight because I'm sure he does. But we can't go to him right now. But I can't imagine that there was anything in the regulations that allowed for what we saw yesterday in the IMSA race of the 6 Hours of the Glen. To me, there are two options here when dealing with a red flag in a timed race. You can either stop the clock and have your 6 hours be 6 hours with the cars rolling on track, or you have a 6 hour race, no ifs, ands, or buts. If you have a red flag, so be it. Obviously, the race is stopped, but the clock cannot stop with it. There's no reason to justify putting an arbitrary 10-minute addition onto the end of the race and screwing all of these teams over by messing with their strategy, messing with the minimum drive time, messing with the amount of fuel that they had in the cars at the end of the race. I mean, Kobe, we were talking before we came on the show. Thank goodness Wayne Taylor Racing was able to maintain the victory. If they had run out of fuel, I think we would have had a Mercedes-style protest on our hands based on what we saw last year in the F1 season finale at Abu Dhabi. And dare I say it, I think it might have been more justified because I think that there's, even with the mess that happened at Abu Dhabi last year in Formula One, you could at least argue the race wasn't extended. There was, obviously confusion as to what happened under the safety car, but ultimately at the end of the day, the race got restarted. They did a one-lap shootout. It ended at the scheduled distance, and that was that. The issue came with however many cars they were going to let pass the safety car, but in terms of the race distance and everything, the battle between Lewis and Max wasn't affected in that way. Here, they added time to a race that had no precedent set for that. It really was like NASCAR came into this series and decided they were going to trial overtime in IMSA with no warning or no precedent whatsoever. And the teams that got screwed over in the GT classes and any team that was close on fuel or any team that had drivers that didn't meet the minimum time or when, I don't know if there's a maximum time that certain drivers might have gone over as well. Whatever the case may be, they are absolutely justified in their frustration. IMSA absolutely dropped the ball, and they need clarification going forward as to whether or not the clock is going to stop during the red flag, or if we're just going to keep the clock going and 6 hours is going to be 6 hours as it is on a normal clock. You can't stop the clock for part of the red flag and then keep it going again so that you can give fans an entertaining finish by adding more racing time onto the end. It makes absolutely no sense. So to answer the question, yes, IMSA totally dropped the ball on this one.